Hello, I hope y'all are all doing well. It's January 16th, and today I'm going to be talking about multiple storm systems this week. Could be looking at some pretty heavy snowfall in some areas, and yeah, so we're kind of just going to go over that for most of the video. And then towards the end of the video, we're just going to look at what we can like expect as we go into like the end of this week and next week, like temperature-wise. Uh, so I hope y'all are all having a great Monday. But yeah, so first off, I'm gonna go ahead and start off by talking about like a kind of a little bit like a low end severe weather potential in areas of the Midwest. So I mean, just looking at reflectivity later, we can see like by 20Z, so like 4 p.m. today, uh, the HRRR is indicating some storms kind of popping up across areas of Iowa, right with that low pressure that we're gonna be looking at. Let me reload this because I think yeah, okay, now we have several more hours. Yeah, we can see indicates a few storms kind of popping there. Uh, and so I mean, with that, we could be looking at like a little bit of a low end, like a very low end tornado potential with some of these storms. Just due to the fact that they're right along the triple point. We have a decent bit of shear. Where I'm not really gonna look at any soundings or anything, but because I mean I don't think this is too big of a deal. Um, and also not much has changed since my video yesterday with this, but that's this. We could be looking at the low end tornado threat today in that area. But on the other side of things, right to the north of that, we're going to be looking at some pretty significant, or not really significant, but some pretty heavy snowfall. I mean, this is 18:30Z this afternoon. This would be about 12:30 p.m. We're looking at a good bit of moderate to even heavy snow across areas of northeastern Minnesota. Still mainly rain though across the central and the southern portion of the state. But that will change. We can see kind of as we go into this or not really this evening, but into this afternoon. This is about 3. Yeah, about 3. Actually, this would be about 3. We're starting to see some of that more cold air kind of bleed in on the back side of this. We're starting to see more areas switch over to snow over in South Dakota. Starting to shift a little further south of Minnesota, but still northeastern Minnesota is just getting pretty much dumped on snow-wise. But then as we go 23 east, this is 5 p.m. We can see just to the north of Minneapolis now, looking at heavy snow in some areas, kind of widespread moderate snow. And then this does eventually kind of wrap around and make it into Minneapolis as we go into like later tonight. But I mean, really, the areas are just going to be getting dumped on are really like in here. We're going to see that continuously, and even more like in this northern area here, because I mean you're pretty much starting off with snow, and it's just snowing pretty much a good portion of the day. So, and even into tonight. If we go back to go to this version of the normal HRRR, we can look at total snowfall that can be expected from this. So when we take a look, I mean we could be expecting good like 0.5 inches to maybe an inch across areas of central Minnesota. Up in northeastern Minnesota, that we could be looking at like 1 to 2 in some areas. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some isolated amounts up to 3. And then we can see some other like isolated spots that get about like 1 to 2 inches as well over in South Dakota and then up in North Dakota. So yeah, that's kind of what we can expect today, snow-wise, with this little winter storm that we have right here. And then back to the west, we can see we have once again a mess. We have a mess in the west. This is about this will be about 10 p.m. tonight. We're still looking at a lot of snow across areas of the Four Corners states, Nevada, and it's still into California. But as we go into tomorrow afternoon, we can see this low. I mean, it gets ready to kind of eject over into the central U.S. 996 millibars. We can still see bringing a lot of heavy snow to the Four Corners tomorrow evening. And then by Wednesday, we look at pretty much we have a full. It's completely out in the plains now. We have a lot of snow in Colorado, Nebraska, and northern Kansas. Which let's talk about which areas could actually see snow from this. So a little bit of a zoomed in view here of what the GFS has. So Wednesday, like mid morning, we're looking at snow across kind of like northeastern Colorado, a little bit of northern Kansas, and into a good portion of Nebraska as well. And then by Wednesday evening, we can see that snow has moved over a little further east. We can see it's now snowing. We're getting some pretty good snowfall in Omaha, right to the north of Kansas City as well, northwestern Missouri. And then that eventually does move into the Des Moines area overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday. So 990 or 999 millibar low right there. Still slowly deepening. By Thursday morning, Thursday at about 6-7 a.m. We can see that we're not still seeing snow in like the Des Moines area, even the Omaha area. We're still seeing some snow showers in the backside of this, just helping to kind of bring more accumulation. But we're starting to see a lot of snow like in northern Illinois, like Rockford, up in Milwaukee, Madison. And then as you go into Michigan, we'll see that snow in that area as well during the day Thursday. As this low kind of pushes north, mainly in the northern part of the state though. The southern part does pretty much stay ran. Looking at the Euro just for some like any major differences here. Seems very similar, although we do see a little bit more icing kind of along that transition area. It also shows a little bit more mixing further south. We see like some snow mixing in across areas almost down into central Illinois. Although where we see like complete snow is actually further north. You can see like Rockford, Illinois kind of misses out on it. You're just too far south with this one on the Euro. So pretty interesting, but Des Moines, Omaha, very pretty high confidence you're going to see a decent winter storm from this. Same with like Madison, Wisconsin, even like maybe Rochester, Minnesota as well. So yeah, total snowfall accumulations off of the Euro here. In regards to this system, some of this up here is a little off because we had this storm system, or we had that winter storm today in that area already bringing snow to that area. So some of these totals are gonna be kind of adding this, or unless I do 24-hour snowfall accumulations here. But yeah, so when you take a look at like total snowfall accumulations, we're looking at a good swath across Nebraska, South Dakota, and northern Kansas of a foot plus in some areas. So pretty significant. And Omaha is a little lower, probably just due to a little bit more warm air in that area. But just to the north in Iowa, we still see several inches. And then up into Wisconsin, some of these amounts up here, like I said, are kind of adding what we already have seen, or what we're going to see tonight. But still, you're going to be expecting some decent snowfall from this. We can see kind of how that tracks there, just very significant snowfall. Kind of centered right over that Nebraska area. So, yeah, GFS snow-wise, I'm kind of curious what we can see with this comparison here. So GFS seems to have like this is the Euro right here. Okay, switch to the GFS. About the same amount of snowfall. The thing is, it's like slightly further south, but also that cutoff is much more. That like cutoff is much more quick. Like you go from seeing a lot of snow to seeing none. A lot shorter time than the Euro. So the Euro we do actually see snow further south, but it's just GFS is that heavier snow further south. GFS is Omaha just getting like slammed with snow. You can see a foot of snow there. Des Moines almost 10 inches. So yeah, fairly significant winter storm for sure for these areas, and even up into Wisconsin. We have a good couple of inches. In some areas above 6 inches. So, yeah, this is going to be our next pretty. This is going to be a pretty major winter storm in my opinion. Especially for like Nebraska, because over a foot of snow in Nebraska doesn't happen that often. It's not like it's not completely common. Same with most areas in like the plains, like the central U.S. and then over into the Midwest. Over a foot of snow for a winter storm in that area is very big deal. Not a very big deal, but a pretty big deal. Uh, so yeah, that is that area. Oh, the NAM also. The NAM does go out far enough. We can see some key things about the NAM real quick. Is that we see a little bit more of a mixing event once again, similar to the Euro. So that transition line that starts off as like freezing rain, only getting a little bit of snow on the back end of this. We can still see very heavy snow for areas of like southwest Nebraska, central Nebraska, up into areas of Des Moines. Omaha though does kind of on that line of freezing rain. So we'll see if what this trends to. Also, northern Illinois pretty much doesn't give much at all until the backside. We have some snow showers kind of getting pushed all the way into central Illinois. I mean, so that's pretty interesting solution here at the NAM. Taking a look at total snowfall. Appears to be a little bit more similar to the Euro than the GFS. Yeah. We can see we have a good foot of snow still across Nebraska. I mean, there's a good chance if you're in central Nebraska, you could see over a foot of snow from this, or just a foot of snow. Even Kansas City does get like a little dusted on the backside of this. So we'll see. Topeka gets that as well. Not quite down to the Wichita area, but still Northwest Kansas does get kind of in on that. And then up into Iowa, Des Moines getting good several inches. But then we can see like this back end snowfall here, like what I just talked about in Missouri and Illinois, bringing some areas like a little bit of snow. I mean, just enough to make the ground kind of white. And then Michigan's also picking up on some snow. So that is what we can expect with this system over to the west. Now, I mean, this is going to affect the Northeast afterwards, which is what we're going to talk about now. So, I mean, this is all happening, Wednesday and Thursday over there. But then as we get into Thursday night in the Northeast, we can start to see impacts from this. If we take a look at like the entire thing here, just to give you kind of a better understanding of what we're looking at, we can see that warm front kind of pushes into that area Thursday, although the low is still back in Ohio, and we're still seeing snow in this area. And then we just see kind of like another low form in the Atlantic, which kind of enhances the snowfall a little bit too across the Northeast. So, yeah, into the Northeast here, we can see Friday evening on the GFS. We slowly see it like the snow line kind of shift further south as we go through Friday night, and then into even Friday, we start to see it shift even further south into like areas of Connecticut. But I mean, the GFS has some areas of New Hampshire here really getting a good bit of snowfall from this. I wouldn't really don't look at these snowfall accumulations and think like you could don't take it or don't look at them and say like, oh, I'm gonna get 4 inches, because I mean, this is just, first of all, this is just the GFS model, but also this is still pretty far out here. So kind of what I want to get to here is kind of which areas could be seeing the heaviest snowfall from this. But yeah, so I mean, this is the GFS here. With some areas seeing with like the heaviest snowfall up in Maine, areas of New York, pretty much all of Vermont, New Hampshire, and then still some little like decent snowfall down into Massachusetts. If we go over to the European here, we can see a little bit more of a mixing solution. So I mean, once again, the European seems to be doing that a lot. But a very similar solution, a lot of snow across this area of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. And then we do see a little bit more like further south snow on the backside, maybe some snow showers all the way down to Connecticut, southeast New York, like eastern PA. But some pretty good snowfall can be expected in this area. We also see that kind of secondary low form in the Atlantic right there, helping to enhance the snowfall kind of right along that corridor right there. Now total snowfall accumulations, very surprisingly similar to the GFS actually. We see really Maine is the hot spot in the European. Maine is the hot spot. A little less snow in this area here, but it definitely looks like we'll probably see it. We're going to see a pretty significant winter storm across these areas, and then also some snow outside of those areas for sure. Some areas could see several inches, but outside of that box. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to be expecting with this system. And then yes, we can just see also towards next weekend, right after we see this storm system move out, tracks through the entire country, moves out. Saturday we see another storm eject into the plains. We can see more snow a little further south though, just to be a little further south there. And the GFS is pretty certain on some of those more southern locations seeing snowfall. So we'll see if that shifts towards anything. But then this is a much more like southern storm, but we're not seeing as much snow. This is more like this low is located over the southeast pretty much here. So this is a much better situation for like coastal northeast snowfall. Just considering that low is further east. But so yeah, we see some snow even up into like Ohio, and then this low just really deepens as it heads into the ocean. We're going right along the coastal northeast. Like this is very close. I mean, if we see a slight shift a little southeast, we could be looking at a pretty much a coastal northeast winter storm as we go into Sunday and Monday next week. But right now we can see just a lot of snow across those areas. And then, I mean, it does give some of the coastal northeast, like New York City, Boston, some snow on the backside, but it's a little. So even DC gets a little bit there. Look at the 0-0-Z run. So last night, like late last night's run, a little bit of a different solution. It has more of a like different track here. It's kind of weird. It's not moving to northeast really. It's not doing what like the GFS or the new run of the GFS side. It brings more kind of PA, southern, like southeast New York, but that does bring some good signs. I definitely think as we go into next Monday, some areas along the coast, we could be looking at some snow like towards the end of next weekend. So I'm kind of we'll see what that what this trends to as we get towards tomorrow and Wednesday, to get a little bit more to know a little bit more details about that. And also, I guess I want to talk about severe weather real quick. First off, let's just talk about this. So, we looked at this yesterday, but I mean, once again, as we get into really the next week, we're going to be looking at potentially a little bit of cold air kind of bleeding into the east a little bit. So, I mean, if you're kind of wondering when this torch will end in the east, pretty much, it is looking like we'll see like a somewhat end of it maybe as we get into the end of January. It's not going to be completely over, and the confidence is not completely great that it's actually we're just gonna see it end. But the GFS or the GEFS is actually starting to be a little closer to the European. You can see that the average temperatures shifting into areas of northern Georgia, eastern Tennessee, and then as we go in towards the end of January, we see that cold air finally bleeding east. So yeah, it does look like a cool down is expected towards really after next weekend in the east. Somewhat of a cool down. But yes, I guess we'll take a look at severe weather real quick. I did not get the SPC pulled up here. I'm sorry about that. But we do have a slight risk on Wednesday across areas of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. If we go over to, we'll use this here. Yeah, so we take a look at 500 millibar winds on Wednesday. Let's go to the latest run in the GFS here. I mean, yeah, we have a nice, very nice setup here for some severe weather. Very, very clear setup as well. I mean, you can clearly see where that's going to be. Let me get a little bit of a... Okay, here we go. We can use this. Yeah, so we take a look at dew points. Sorry about that. Apparently said something that made my... I'll go home and say something, but yeah, so we can see when we dew points, this is Wednesday afternoon, we have dew points in the 60s up into the Little Rock area, Memphis area, dew points down into the mid 60s across most of Louisiana and eastern Texas. This is just going to be helping to set the stage for some severe weather. We just take a look at instability. We have a decent bit of instability, about 500 to 1,000 joules. So that severe weather threat will exist. I'm not going to look at it too much today. I'm going to really try to focus on it in tomorrow's video, just because today's video is already very long, but we will have that severe weather threat as well to look at on Wednesday. But yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed the video. Once again, if you have any suggestions on videos you'd like to see, I plan to get some Roblox Twisted videos out, some nice storm chasing videos out maybe this week at some point. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you all have a great Monday.